Fabulous morning, fantastical Thursday morning as we continue on with Lounge Interviews on the road to 40 Lounges and Why I Lounge. And today I will be interviewing Tommy Black with Cu'Noma Cigar Lounge. And this just gets more exciting as we go on. I'm learning more about the owners and the lounges and their history as I continue to move around. Tommy, the first question I want to ask you is, I'm gonna preface it with a statement. The first time I walked in these doors, I was just totally flabbergasted. The walls, the floors, the detail, the furniture, everything just really caught my eye because in all of the lounges, they all have a similarity. This one was the first one that stood out, very different. And it was inspiring.
Thank you.
So what I want to know is, where did this come from? Where did this idea, how did you know to do this and make it so different than everything else?
Well, Cu'Noma actually started out with one email to myself probably 8 years ago, when I first really started thinking about, what I wanted to do in a lounge, what I wanted to name it, why I wanted to name it, what I called it, and so forth and so on. And every time I would have an idea, I would email it to myself. And so when it came time to actually start framing the place out and actual construction, I told my contractor, I said I wanted to mimic the library or a study in a millionaire's mansion. And he said, "Oh, you want Bruce Wayne's library?" I said, "Well, I've never seen any of the Batman movies, but we can Google it." Wow. And so that's what we did. And so when he showed me what Bruce Wayne's library looked like, I said that's okay. We're cooking. We're in the right direction. That's what I'm looking for. And so he brought in a great woodworker who does outstanding work. Him and his team came in after the place was foamed and framed out, and the guy just did some amazing work and really brought the vision that I had in my head to life. And it was something to actually walk in and see it, because I captured every phase of the construction process.
Wow.
And to see this guy work and see him do what he was able to do, it was surreal to really see it come to life, from a thought in my head to actually being able to walk in and see it.
Okay, so what just happened for me on camera? I learned something new every time. One of the words that I used, even in the written piece that I did for you today, was, your stuff is intentional. You could tell. The service is intentional. The layout is intentional. The decor. There was intent behind it. And you just stated it, where it came from. You had an intent and you had a purpose. And believe it or not, I felt it when I first walked in. I'm thinking, somebody actually cared to do this way. And then when I felt the service that came with it, and then came back that second time and saw that service again on a larger scale, that's when I understood this was intentional. So it made me start to pay attention to the intent when I go into other lounges. What are they intending to give the customers? What is their purpose? Because everybody's is different. So I want to talk about the first time I came in. I was floored by everything I saw. And it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. It was marvelous. And I had to get over it real quick because I came to smoke cigars. And so when I walked up to Tommy, his nephew, and Ed, who were here that day, they greeted me. And then I did what I always do. I gave a laundry list of what I wanted. My cigar needs to do this, do this, do this, and it can't do this. And when I started naming those things, Tommy's face was just kind of like, his eyebrows went up. He was like, okay, this lady knows what she wants. And then he thought about what cigar would fit me. That was the first time that ever happened. Normally I go in and I'll tell them what I want, and they'll go, well, we have this, we have that. But he was really trying to figure out what it was I wanted. And I was just like, oh my gosh, he is really going for it. And then he started talking to me about, well, this one has leaves grown here, the filler is grown there, the wrapper's grown there. And I'm just sitting looking at him like, okay, he is really talking above my head, but I'm thinking to myself, one day I'm going to get there. In the meantime, make sure my cigar does what I want it to do. And he brought me out my cigar, and I smoked it that day, and I sat and I enjoyed the environment. The next thing I want to know from you is, that language sounded beautiful. I did not understand it, but the filler, the binder, the wrapper, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, he really loves what he does. And he loved it enough to make sure that me as the customer was getting what he thought was going to be a great experience. That's never happened before, and it hasn't happened since. How did you get to know so much about cigars? I mean, to the point to where they're even grown.
Yeah, I have done a little bit of self-deprecation in the past, as far as just joking with my friends or what have you, and I tell them, you know, when it comes to cigars and tobacco, you know, that's one of those things that I just nerd out on. And my brother, he would always say, he would come to my place, you know, over a decade ago, and he would see the Cigar Aficionado magazines, and he said, man, that's one thing about you. If you're going to get into something, you want to know everything you can know about it. And really, like I said, I would use it in a self-deprecating way, but you know, if you're really about this culture and you're really, you know, a cigar guy or cigar gal, I would encourage people to really take time to read about it. And I tell people, anybody that smokes in Cu'Noma regularly, or if you've come here one time and you met me and you went to the humidor with me, you will, you know, you'll come to understand that, you know, I really deep dive into the topic of tobacco and cigars. At the end of the day, I tell people I'm a hardcore cigar guy that just happens to be blessed and fortunate enough to own my own cigar lounge. And so when it comes to a cigar, I always tell people, if you like a specific cigar, go and Google that cigar and read what the blend is, you know, and you know, you're going to see that there may be parallels with this cigar and another cigar you smoke. You say, wow, I like this cigar. Well, I smoked this cigar, you know, over at this place the other day, and I really liked it too. Wow, this cigar had an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. This cigar had an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. Well, maybe you may be starting to draw a parallel that you like cigars with Ecuadorian Habano wrapper. You know, this cigar, Oscuro Maduro wrapper. You've got a double Nicaraguan binder. You've got Honduran and Nicaraguan filler. It's not important to a lot of people, but it's important to me. When I smoke a cigar, I want to know, why do I like this cigar? You know what I mean? And so as much as I can cram into my head, there's going to be a cigar that I may have smoked the cigar 20 times, you know, but you may get to the humidor with me one day and you say, hey, what's the blend of this cigar? And I'm a guy, I say this a million times a week, I'd rather be smarter than I look than try to look smarter than I am. So if I can't remember the blend of a particular cigar or what I really enjoyed about a cigar, I'll just tell you, you know, I'm not sure, but let's check it out. But a lot of times, you know, I will tend to have some information on a particular blend or particular cigar, okay, or take your advice on what you want to smoke and go from there to try to direct you in a direction to get you a cigar that should be a pleasurable smoke for you.
Well, you nailed it this morning. For two reasons. Number one, my taste in cigars and my palate has changed and matured, is what I'll call it, over time from the first time I came here till now. So I can actually enjoy these cigars, but I've also been going to different lounges and I've been specifically asking for Oscuros. And most people don't even know what they are. Even the people that work there. And I'm like, hey, do you have any Oscuros? I want to smoke an Oscuro. And so far, I think one place has told me they have an Oscuro leaf. And so for you to just say that, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm actually smoking an Oscuro and didn't know it, I'm feeling kind of happy right now, because I'm trying to build my background and my information and my palate for cigars as well. Everybody knows I smoke, and I smoke the light stuff, but I smoke the heavy stuff too. I just want to enjoy it, and this one's perfect. It's very smooth, and I like the big stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to look like a girl when I smoke.
Yeah, because I gave her the option of a 660 or should we go with the Robusto, and she quickly shut down the Robusto. So
no, I like the big sticks for smoking. But yeah, I was just really amazed about your knowledge about the layout, and the other component I'm going to go ahead and step straight into is the service. What I felt the first time I came, I was the only person here. I came when they opened, and I was made to feel like I mattered from the time I came through the door to the time I left. You double checked with me as I smoked that first cigar to see if that was okay, if that's what I was wanting, if that's what I was looking for. And I'm sitting here thinking, nobody ever checked with me. I just go smoke, and if I didn't like it, I thought I was just stuck with it. And he came and he checked with me. Is that what you were looking for? He actually, you could tell in his face, he cared enough to know if he had gotten me the right cigar. And I was honest enough to say, I think this is a little too strong. And then he looked surprised, because he said, that's one of the lightest cigars we got. But again, at that time, I was really new to smoking, so I really didn't know, but I just know how it hit my palate. And he went back and he got a different cigar. And when I took my first draw, that was like, this is perfect. And then you just saw his face light up, because he cared enough to make sure my experience was good. Now, further than that, just the welcoming feeling that I had. And then I didn't want to leave that day, even though I had more lounges to visit. I had made up my mind. I was like, I gotta leave, but I gotta come back a second time, because this can't be real. A beautiful place, somebody who is this knowledgeable about cigars, and then the service component was just top of the line. I call it class act. But I decided I was coming back another day at a later time, because I wanted to see if I was right. And I came back one night, and there was a lot more people here, and it was in the evening. And I just scooted in, went over to that little corner. The chair was to the back of the room. And I just sat in that chair, and I slouched down on purpose, because I didn't want to be seen. I wanted to just absorb the environment. And that's what I do when I go to lounges. I just want to experience. I want to feel everything about it, because each lounge is unique, and there's things to appreciate about every single one. So as I sat there, I just kind of kept myself turned just slightly where I had peripheral vision, and I was watching you. And you moved around the room, and that same smile you gave every single person, and they walked up like they were talking to their best friend. And I was just sitting there like, this shit, excuse my French, this shit is real. Like, the service was not a fluke. And then to see him do what he did for me when I was by myself in an entire room, and every person felt greeted, welcomed, important, spoken to, and you could tell his attentiveness to their dialogue at the time he was talking to them was if they mattered. And then at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm sold. And by the end of the night, he kind of caught on that I was in the room. He might have caught on before, I don't know, because he doesn't let much get by him. But we'll get to that point later. But what I want to know is that service component. How do you do that? That's something I struggle with. I love people, but I can only do it to a certain degree. And I want to learn from you, because I have never seen anything like it. Every time I come and you're here, everybody feels that exact same thing that first time I came. How do you do that?
Well, I sum it up in a very simple phrase, and everybody on the staff knows the phrase, because they hear it from me probably a dozen times a week. But I always say it comes down to having a high level of give a damn.
Okay.
And that's basically what it comes down to, because You know, and when it comes to cigars and cigar lounges and tobacco shops and so forth and so on, there's a great degree of parity, just by the nature of the business. But if you fall into, you know, this mindset of 100% parity in what you're doing and the industry that you're in, then it's like, well, what makes me different than any other shop out there? And you know, one of the things that's really, really important to me, one thing that anybody who's on the team knows that will get my attention quicker than anything, is if I see the service fall off.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And when people come in here, I often joke with people, you know, but it's serious. You don't have to get up when you come to Cu'Noma unless you have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
And that's basically the way me and my staff look at it when people come in here. Anybody that's on the team here, they know that's what the mission is.
All right.
And we really make a concerted effort to make sure that when people come in here, it's not just a bunch of pretty leather and wood. It's, you know, basically a type of service that, you know, people would equate to a white tablecloth fine dining steakhouse, you know. But we don't serve steaks. We just provide a great smoking environment, you know, and a high level of service. So in a nutshell, that's basically what it comes down to. Those few words: having a high level of give a damn.
And believe me, you people I watched from the times I've gotten to come here, people do feel like you give a damn. And that's what sold me on Kinoma. And to me, that's what shot it to the top of the list. It became my number one lounge preference because it had all the components. I smoke cigars because I enjoy it. It's a decompression time. But of course, as time goes on, I want to learn more about it. And then to be in an environment that is gorgeous and something I would want to bring anybody to for a business meeting, for a social gathering. Matter of fact, some of my high school friends and classmates were here last week smoking for the first time. I've been telling them about Kinoma. So when I saw them sitting in here smoking and the pictures posted, I got on the phone and called the Cu'Noma store. I was like, ask if anybody there knows me by name, and they didn't recognize it at first. And I said, ask is Carissa in there? And Carissa came to the phone, and Kim. And they were like, oh my gosh, we finally get to smoke. Well, now we see what you do.
That's good stuff.
And that's a segment of people that I know who don't smoke. But I smoke a lot. And so when they get a chance to see that I do that, they're like, hey, I want to go. And to me, one of the things I want to do, and the reason I'm doing the lounge interviews, is I want to really promote the lounges. That's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. You all give us a great service that we love, and then you give us a great place to come enjoy it in. And what better way I can come and buy a cigar. That's easy. Mm-hmm. But I thought to myself, I have some amazing talents. I thought, why not get behind the lounges a different way? And so this is how I chose to get behind the lounges, was to do these interviews and get them out there so that people know, people who didn't know about it know. Because I still talk to people when I go to some places in Fort Worth, and they're like, well, which lounge would you recommend? I'm like, Cu'Noma. And they're like, I never heard of that. I'm like, you should go. You know, and it's not just Cu'Noma, but there's other ones as well. But the bottom line is, I can tell one person, or I can tell a lot of people just by doing a video. Mm-hmm. So we're killing a whole bunch of birds with one stone.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because, you know, like I said earlier, I'm a hardcore cigar guy, so I still go to other lounges and smoke, and you know, I don't just stay in my little hole. I still appreciate the culture.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so you might see me pop up anywhere.
I've seen that. And if you don't mind me asking, what made you do that? Because that, to me, that shot you to a whole nother level of just being a master at what you do. is that you're really getting out there. So you not only take care of home, but you get out there and you support the other lounges. To me, that's why he's number one, because this all works if everybody's working together, and you are actually doing that. So what puts you out there? What makes you go?
I mean, really, it's simple. I just enjoy the culture. You know what I mean? And Cu'Noma is not the end all be all. You know what I mean? So this is where I consider home. This is my home lounge. But it's kind of intrinsic. I have to get out and go and go and just to go enjoy a cigar in a new environment. It excites me. And then there's a lot of people that either work in these other establishments or own these other establishments that I just genuinely enjoy those people.
Okay.
I've gotten to know them, over the course of a several year time span when I was their customer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I still just enjoy them as people, and just to go and have a cigar with somebody that I know that's in the industry. I mean, that's just something that I get joy from. I still get joy from. I'm not, and I don't think I'll ever be to the point to where I'm just like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I got a plethora of cigars. I don't have to go anywhere ever again. You know what I mean? I can sit right here. Somebody can call me today and say, hey, we got an event. If my schedule will allow it, I'm going to do my damnedest to be there to support what they got going on. That'll likely be in perpetuity because I just enjoy the culture.
Now, I've seen the posts where you've been to events. I've seen your Facebook posts where you've gone to the other lounges. And that's something else that kind of stood out with me is just because out of the 50 plus lounges that I've been to, I'm not saying other lounge owners don't, but that's not anything that I've ever seen. And the other thing that I'm loving is what you're really saying. There's no ego behind you being in business, and the fact that you're not seeing everybody as competition, but hey, I enjoyed that person's company before. And that's one thing I like about cigars. You can sit with a person and smoke with them and get to know them just in that environment, and they are cool as hell. You become buddies just from the cigar, and you may not learn anything personal about them for a long, long time. And so to know that culture is still drawing people together on that level, and then at some point it does expand, if it's supposed to.
Absolutely. And I
absolutely love that. Cu'Noma, I'm gonna sum it up. I was gonna sing him a song. Oh my God. I had a theme song for this one because there's a song called You Are the Reason. And all of the lyrics don't fit. But the one line just basically says, you are the reason. Service was not even something I even knew about until I came to Kinoma. And so ultimately now when I go to the other lounges, I don't compare them to Kinoma, but I see what their chemistry is, what their makeup is, and if their service fits. So far, I have been absolutely happy with everybody, but I didn't understand the real level of service till I came here. So now when I go, I look for service, and Cu'Noma is the reason that service has become the number one component for me. Because we can buy cigars, we can visit lounges, but how often do you get such excellent service?
I think that plays into our daily life and everything that we do. And one thing about me is if somebody's going to come in here to spend their hard-earned money, I want them to know that I have a great deal of respect for that decision, period.
Oh, and I didn't even touch on the quality of the cigars that he has. He's top-notch. He knows what he's doing. Period. And these are not just knockoffs. These are excellent quality cigars. it's like you just have the whole package put together on doing this business that'll keep you here for a long time.
Well, they say God gave you one mouth and two ears for a reason. You know, a lot of what makes me me does come from, you know, applying myself and reading and so forth. But, you know, I listen as well. And people that smoke here, you know, people that you know, really, you know, smoke cigars and they have recommendation, they know I really listen, you know. So if somebody comes in and, you know, I had one of my fellow Masonic brothers who is a part of the leadership of one of the biggest cigar groups here in Dallas, and, you know, he brought me 2 cigars, and this one cigar just, man, it just grabbed me. And I knew into the first third of that cigar, I said, I'm bringing that cigar in.
Okay.
And, you know, he didn't know it, but I got on my phone. I started looking through inventory right then, trying to see, all right, I want to know about this cigar, you know, and it's in the humidor right now, you know, and I just smoked it for the first time 3 weeks ago. But, you know, I'm open to other people's suggestions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you can find a diamond in the rough, you know what I mean? You're gonna know what you like, but I don't know everything, you know, that I don't know your top 5 or your top 10 or your top 4 Connecticut's, you know, what are your top 3 Oscuros, you know what I mean? And you could say something that, you know, piques my interest, or hand me something that I light and smoke one day, and then I get to introduce it to, you know, 400 more people that come in and get to experience it. So,
well, I think, to me, just what you just said is, you knew you were going to get it about a third way through. I want to be on his level one day of understanding cigars. And right now, what I have to go by is what he said. When I get into a cigar, that's letting me know if I like the cigar. But I still don't have the knowledge and background of the Lisa wrappers, you know, the Nicaraguan, you know, versus the Cuban and all that. But the bottom line is I'm thinking that still connects us in a way that we still enjoy the cigar. So at some point, now this is what I hope. I hope to learn more from you over time, because I haven't met anyone else, and I'm not saying they don't, but I haven't met anyone else that could actually teach me cigars. Like, as I'm smoking and I'm like, what is this? And you have actually taught me some things too about smoking, like how to actually light it so that I get the even burn. And I light like that all the time. I think Tim was even impressed over at D&B when I did their interview. He saw me light it up. He said, we usually light for the women. He said, you knew what you were doing. I was like, Tommy Black taught me well. The other thing you taught me how to do was how to actually pick up the notes.
Shout out to the Godfather, by the way.
Yes, hey.
TD.
But you taught me how to look for the notes in the hints of different things in the cigar. So I really try to like push it to the roof of my mouth when I take, you know, a draw. I've come here. Him and Rachel taught me how to retro. Retro inhale. That's been fun. I practice that as many times as I can.
This is a good one to do it with too.
Okay, I'm gonna try.
This is a.
I did it.
And it's on film.
And it's on film. I'm gonna try it one more time, just so you know it wasn't a fluke. They have really worked with me.
Boom.
Oh, nice. And you know what I found out why it wasn't coming out before? I didn't realize it, but my sinuses were swollen. So every time I kept pushing, he would see me just breathe out my nose and nothing came out. Him and Rachel kept looking like, no, nothing came out. And then I would blow out my mouth, smoke would come out, and he kept saying, do this. So I started doing allergy spray in the morning and at night, so that I could actually sit here today and do it.
Well,
so
I
did it. Yay. So Cu'Noma has taught me.
Each one teach one. Now you got a mission now.
Well, the one thing you didn't teach me, you told me to push it to the roof of my mouth. It wouldn't come out that way. So what I learned is I actually had to bring it down just to the tip of my tonsils and then push up and out. So mine doesn't work. So Maybe maybe my nasal passages are built different or
You
something.
you got your style. That's it.
But it works. Tommy, is there anything you want to ask me? Is there anything you want to know? Because first of all, I'm going to say thank you for trusting me to do this. I have one agenda, and that is to really promote the lounges. Yeah. You all do a magnificent job, and you give us places to go. Mm-hmm. I remember when I didn't mind getting off at 10 o'clock at night, and I would drive over here because I knew you stayed open to 1, and it's over an hour away. In the beginning, I could do that, mm-hmm. and I used to do it as much as I could.
I guess the only question that I would ask, which I probably know the answer, but I'll get it from you. Your initial goal was you had set out to visit. You titled it "A Road to 40 Lounges," mm-hmm. and you are now approaching 75. So
that is definitely my next goal, and very achievable very soon.
So I guess my question is: have you moved the bar? Is it now titled "The Road to 40 Lounges," and you crossed out 40 and maybe put 100, or?
Well, I think there's only about 80 that I know of in DFW, but I thought about changing that because the numbers are climbing. But I think what I look at too is this started with just a goal of 40. So I haven't really decided to change it because I actually like, and I don't think I will, and I don't think I will because how your dream about this came about was dreams you had. You got up, you sent yourself emails. This literally started with just 40 lounges. Now it just keeps going from there. So I could see it being, I just tried to hit 40, and I tried to hit it for my birthday this year, early part of the year, and I did.
Yeah.
So now, past that, when people say, hey, you've been to 100 or 200 at this point, why didn't you change it? Because it started with 40.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, I hope you learn from this particular interview, if you have ideas, if you have goals and dreams, find a way to send them to yourself. Find a way to begin to give yourself plans of action, putting things on paper, doing your research. Start somewhere. So yes, at some point I'm going to hit 75, 80, and 100. I will keep going. But I had to start somewhere, and 40 was my starting point. I didn't even start off intending to do interviews. I didn't start off intending to write reviews. I didn't start off to do any of that. I just literally loved going to lounges, and I still do. And so this has really just kind of evolved from there, because when I got a chance to see what lounges were about and what was so unique about each one, then as I kind of got to know more people, I found that they found one place that they really liked. But I'm like, but hey, there's like so many more. You should really kind of move around. Mm-hmm. Because the other thing is, you could be in a place that doesn't give you good service. Mm-hmm. Why would you give your money to some place that doesn't give you good service?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not dropping a dime because I know I have choices and I exercise my rights.
Yeah. And, you know, Robert Wright, the owner of Pure Soul Cigars, he had a quote that just jumped out to me. And, you know, I've used this quote when people are talking about, you know, a particular cigar. Oh, man, this cigar is strong. But then I smoke the cigar, I might think it's medium plus at best. But Robert Wright said, you know, in regards to tobacco, as far as full flavor, full strength, full body, he said tobacco, he said body is the perception of tobacco on your palate. And so what I took from that was two key words: your palate. So you may perceive a cigar in a particular way, I may perceive it in another way. When it comes to cigar lounges, it's what's your flavor? You know, like when you come to Cu'Noma, I'm a traditional cigar lounge. That was what I set out to be from day one. And so when you come here, you know, we're gonna have a particular vibe. You know, we do smooth jazz, vintage jazz. We may even change the vibe up a little bit as the night goes on. What we call Cu'Noma after dark, and but if you're maybe looking for a vibe that is going to be more live entertainment or more like a club or so forth and so on, there's some places that do that concept and they do it well, and so it's all about your flavor, and everybody doesn't eat steak every day. Everybody doesn't eat beef every day. So, and one thing I know about, the culture, people that are heavy in the culture, they're going to go and experience something different, from time to time. They may fall back to their home lounge, but when they want a different flavor or taste of something different, they go where they know they can get that.
Right. And you may be right about them actually venturing out to other places, but I think ultimately we still have a core of what we typically like, and then from time to time you want to experience something different. So if anybody ever wants to know about which lounges do what, if you're looking for a particular vibe, I guess at this point I can tell you. You can ask and I'd be happy to tell you. But thank you for taking the time to sit with me. Thank you for allowing me to get your story up here. There is more to come. I'm looking forward to what comes next, and I'm glad that I was able to take a talent and a skill that I have and get behind the cigar culture.
And thank you for choosing us as one of your stops.
Yes. So don't worry, I'm hitting all of them, but you can only do one at a time, and so So thank you, Kinoma.
Thank you, Miss Fancie Moore.